Hi there, I'm Jake, and changing seasons is pretty cool. Welcome to Project Science. It's October, and in the Northern Hemisphere, that means it's autumn and there are some pretty spectacular changes occurring. Most notably, the leaves are changing and the temperature is dropping. So what causes these changes? The trees drop their leaves because of the cold? To understand, we first need to talk about space.
The Earth isn't perfectly upright in its orbit. It actually sits at an angle. This angle means that at different times during the year, the northern and southern hemispheres receive light at varying intensities. The hemisphere getting the most direct sun experiences summer, and the one getting the least experiences winter. During the times of year in between, fall and spring happen. It's this angle business that causes the seasons. A common misconception is that the Earth's varying distance from the sun is responsible, but these differences in distance are too small to matter. In fact, we're closest to the sun in January, when the north experiences winter.
So really, the cold doesn't cause the trees to drop their leaves, but the leaves and the cold are both consequences of the changing light intensity. Plants need light to photosynthesize. Photosynthesis is how plants use energy from the sun to convert water and carbon dioxide into sugar for food.
Trees do this in their leaves, cranking out sugars and pumping them down the phloem.
But there needs to be enough light for this to work. Once the sunlight intensity gets too low, the trees spend more resources trying to keep their leaves alive than they make through photosynthesis. So they stop.
They suck the green photosynthetic chlorophyll back out of the leaves, stop giving them water, and then let them go to make new ones in spring.
A natural cost-benefit analysis.
Of course, there are the conifers, or the so-called evergreens, that keep their leaves. They evolved thin, needle-like leaves that can stand harsher conditions and hold water better. They do drop these needles intermittently to replace them, but never all at once.
It's this seasonal transition from leafy and growing to bare and dormant that causes the growth rings we see in trees, a start-stop mark for each year. Near the equator, the growing season is pretty much constant, so trees don't make noticeable rings. Speaking of the equator, if you were to take, say, a sugar maple from way up north and transplant it near the equator, it would hold its leaves indefinitely. Light really does make all the difference. And speaking of sugar maples, what's the deal with maple syrup? It grows all over the place, but really the only good syrup comes from way up north. Why no Kentucky syrup? I mentioned before about sugar being transported through the phloem. Well, a relevant fun fact is that dissolving stuff in water pushes its freezing temperature down. That's why we put salt on the road in winter, to make it have to get even colder before the road actually freezes. So when it's especially cold, trees will load up on dissolved sugar to keep from freezing solid. Sugar maples happen to do this best, most, and with the tastiest sugars. Distill 40 gallons of maple phloem fluid and you've got yourself 1 gallon of maple syrup.
So there's some cool info about trees in the fall. And trees are a really cool part of the season. Certainly they're the most visually stunning, but animals are doing some pretty cool stuff too.
Have a look at this. What we've got here is a flock of wild Canada geese. Now I reckon if we stay quiet, we can get a closer look. And maybe not. Lots of birds migrate south for the winter to avoid the cold and the food shortage. With so many plants shutting down into winter mode to save energy, there's not a whole lot of food energy available to eat, and so autumn is a time when you'll see a lot of migrations happening. And geese fly in that V formation that they do. You ever wonder why sometimes one side is longer than the other? Because it has more geese in it. Seasons are cool. Summer is when all the biology is happening in full force, but fall is when all those crazy complex processes have to sort themselves out to go on hold. So take some time to go out and enjoy some of the funky, cool changes that come with that. Ooh, this one's got lots of anthocyanin. Thanks for watching.